Okay, in our last video, we discussed what the chromatic scale is. One thing that I want to clear up that I didn't mention in the last video is that between the B and the C and between the E and the F, there are no sharp or flat notes that are in there. I just wanted to clear that up because I didn't mention it, but there's some text on the previous video. So as we move forward into the next section here, the next thing that we're going to talk about here is the major scale formula. The major scale contains 7 notes. And I have to write an 8 over here, and you'll see why here in a second. These little marks that I'm making right here are demonstrating the distance between each of the notes. So the W is going to stand for whole, which means a whole step. And an H is going to equal a half step. Okay, so between the first note and the second note is a whole step. The second note and the third note is a whole step. Between the third note and the fourth note is a half step. Between the fourth and the fifth note is another whole step. 5 and 6 is a whole step. 6 to 7 is a whole step. And then from the 7th to the 8th is a half step. An important thing that I need to make sure, I'm going to put a star on here because it's going to lead into the next lesson that we're going to do. Whenever you're building a scale, it is really important that you only ever use one representative for each letter. And what I mean by that is that if you get to a section in the scale when you're building your scale, let's say that you're right here and you are going from an A note and it's a half step, like you would see right here. If you're going a half step from the A note and you've already used the A note, you can't call the next note an A sharp. The next note has to be a B flat. So essentially every single scale that you're going to write out that we're going to do in the next lesson here will always contain an A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. You're never going to have an A and then an A sharp within the same scale. Okay, so right here, this is a good way of thinking about it. If you have an A note and your next move is a half step, you're not going to call it an A sharp. It's going to equal the B flat. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next lesson.